A high school student nearly crippled the nation's economy.
He was Canada's most notorious counterfeiter. His notes just exploded across the country.
It wasn't necessarily the money, it was the challenge.
He was a big player. It just mushroomed into so much more.
There was no way we were ever going to get caught. We were untouchable, invincible.
Find out how he did it. Next on Masterminds.
No!
In the late 1990s, Windsor, Ontario was hit with a flood of extraordinary counterfeit $100 bills.
The bills were perfect. They were passing the counterfeit detection, no problem. That's how good they were.
The forgers had somehow managed to defeat the world's most secure currency.
Canada's pretty much a leader in security features on their notes.
Every aspect of a bill is in some way intended to ensure security.
Printed on non-fluorescent paper, the $100 note is made up of 9 different sections, each designed by individual engravers. Raised ink printing gives it a 3-dimensional quality. The bill also contains extensive microprinting, intricate line patterns and shades, a color-shifting foil applique called the optical security device, and embedded fluorescent planchettes. Even the twin serial numbers employ a highly specialized font.
We really hadn't seen a major counterfeiter before, when it had implications across Canada.
The exceptional forgeries soon became epidemic, spreading to cities throughout the country and inflicting huge losses on businesses.
We started seeing refusal notices go up as a result.
No, we don't think so.
90% retailers would not accept a $100 bill because they perceived that it was just too risky.
Obviously, you want to find out who's manufacturing it so you can stop it. But you can't always judge where the bill's being made by going to the location where they're being passed.
Tracing it back is very difficult unless you get some information and do some old-fashioned legwork. We're looking for anything that we can to identify where they may come from.
Police across the nation launched a major crackdown on known and suspected counterfeiters.
We have people that have been caught passing counterfeit, but the amount that we seize wouldn't point to somebody who was a manufacturer.
As the investigation widened, authorities interviewed paper suppliers about any unusual purchases.
Banknote paper is not standard paper. And it's not really even technically paper, it's a cotton linen blend.
But when suppliers couldn't provide any leads, law enforcement started looking for the high-end presses they assumed must have produced the near-perfect bills.
Most counterfeiting operations are typically done on professional printing equipment.
But again, police drew a blank.
There were only so many suspects around. And no one had that expertise or the knowledge or the equipment.
Then, in early 2000, as authorities hit a dead end, the problem escalated. The entire nation was awash in $16 million in fake hundreds.
You're really attacking a country's economy when you're making counterfeit currency.
Investigators suspected the operation originated across the border with the Detroit mob. But the mastermind behind the greatest counterfeiting operation in Canadian history was the last person police ever imagined.
I had this notion embedded in the back of my head since I was a kid that if you could print money, you would solve all the problems in the world. I woke up one morning and decided I'm going to do the best counterfeit bill anybody's ever seen.
High school student Wesley Weber had found a way to create undetectable counterfeits and literally made himself millions. The question is, how did he do it? Master counterfeiter Wesley Weber was born in 1974, just south of Windsor, Ontario, in a small community called River Canard.
My upbringing was better than most. I was afforded every opportunity growing up. As a young kid, my parents were extremely supportive, nurturing academically, but I was an introvert. I was a shy kid.
When Wesley Weber discovers computers, a whole new world opens up for him.
Computer was my first babysitter. It was the best thing ever invented. I spent more time with my computer than socializing. Through high school, I was a nerd. You know, pimples and glasses and the stereotypes that just make you insecure when you're young. What I had to figure out was a way to change my image.
Weber's need to make his mark leads him to commit a daring act.
The first big criminal thing that he did, he broke into a high school.
My friend and I had black clothes, black hats, all the stereotypes that go along with a Mission Impossible style robbery. We lowered ourselves in through the roof. We cut the power, we did all kinds of extravagant things to minimize our detection. We stole everything. My accomplices' parents were gone to Mexico. We had the whole house as a home base to stash our loot. The newspapers accounted professional burglars from Detroit had come and stole $270,000 worth of equipment. It was our vindication. We foolishly started bragging about what we did because if no one knew what we did, there was no point in doing it.
But Weber's conceit soon brings him to the attention of police.
He seized the equipment. He was arrested and he was charged and he was convicted.
My parents were in shock. They didn't know what to do. Mr. Overachiever is breaking into schools now. I went to jail for a week. It was a terrifying experience.
But Weber also discovers he's finally made his mark.
Went back to find I was the most popular guy in the school. I was feeling that acceptance I had sought after so long.
He's quickly befriended by fellow students Anthony Caporale, Dustin Cossum, and Ryan Hodare.
They drank, did drugs, never went to school, partied with the girls.
Weber moves in with the gang and soon learns how they support themselves.
And they're very involved in criminal activities.
Breaking into cars, taking radios, selling various illicit goods. And Weber finds the lifestyle exciting.
After the gang shows Weber their feeble attempts at check fraud, he demonstrates how to do a better job.
Got some genuine documentation, counterfeited, and put the information he wanted onto it.
The first check I counterfeited was a City of Windsor welfare check. I was pretty proficient at that time because of the graphics experience I had. So I came up with my own methodologies to manipulate the check, to change dates and addresses and account numbers.
His friends respected him because he had skills that they didn't. And if he could counterfeit things for them, then that would increase his standing.
The crew starts cashing his fake checks all over Windsor. But Weber's not satisfied.
And in the back of my head, there was always that thought that, well, why do we go through all this trouble to get money? Maybe we could just print money.
Wesley Weber now sets out to turn this idea into reality.
In 1999, Weber counterfeited his first currency.
Numbers have to be exact. It won't fit.
The first bills, they were substandard. It wasn't a simple process of just putting a bill in a scanner and pressing copy. It's a piece of engineering that's been created by dozens and dozens of people. And it requires extreme digital manipulation to have it come out as a reasonable facsimile. It took months and months and months to refine the process. It became an obsession. I was a perfectionist.
Against Weber's advice, his less discerning roommates insist on putting his substandard fakes to the test.
His buddies go around to retailers with a bunch of 20s and buy some small products, and they would pocket the actual money, and that was their profit.
But Weber wants more than small change.
I had a $100 note. It's the holy grail of the counterfeit world. It wasn't necessarily about the money for me, it was the challenge. There are 9 separate sections on a bill that are developed by individual engravers. I would edit the image adjusting photographic attributes like sharpness, brightness, color, and hues and saturations. And I kept doing this week after week, month after month, to the point where I'd finally printed a front and a back template. I started my proofs, printed them, they looked identical.
But they're still not good enough. The bills glow when placed under ultraviolet light, a dead giveaway that they're forgeries.
What you actually need is paper that is not UV responsive.
Posing as a bar owner, Weber now visits a Toronto paper manufacturer and explains his problem.
I walked in and I said, I print advertisements every Friday night with fluorescent lettering. And when I use my standard inkjet paper, the paper glows under my black lights in the bar and the letters glow.
And it looked awful and no one could read them.
She said, you need something called archival quality paper. I said, what's that? She said, it's acid-free, it's used in wills and testaments, deeds and ownerships, banknotes, and, I mean, that reverberated banknotes, you say.
Weber purchases a batch of the paper, then tackles his next